Hello everybody, this is Kyle Tomson with Tomson Burnham Real Estate. I am a real estate agent in Salem, Oregon, and this is my Living in Salem YouTube channel. I've lived in Salem for 25 years, and this channel is about sharing what I know about Salem and the surrounding area with everyone who watches to help them decide if this is the right place for them to live. As you are watching today's video, if you like what you see and find it helpful, click on the thumbs up icon, write a comment, or share it. YouTube relies heavily on these metrics when deciding which videos to promote, so it helps others find us. On August 16th, just about a week from now, realtors all across the country, real estate agents who are members of the NAR, will have to start complying with the policy changes the NAR agreed to in their historic $450 million settlement of the class action lawsuits that have been swirling around the real estate industry for years. Two of these policy changes are that realtors can no longer advertise seller-paid buyer agent commissions on any platform, and that buyers must sign a buyer agency agreement prior to touring a single home. Now, these policy changes do not affect any real estate agent who isn't a member of the NAR, like myself, but many states and MLSs are adopting these changes for all agents, members of the NAR or not. The latter of these policy changes has caused a bit of controversy among those in the industry, consumer watchdogs, and policymakers. The worry is that we're simply trading one big problem for a different big problem. We are trading the problem of sellers being tricked or coerced into paying big buyer agent commissions to the equally big problem of buyers being tricked and coerced into paying big buyer agent commissions by locking them into long-term buyer agency contracts that they don't understand and they can't get out of. Contracts where the buyer is guaranteeing the buyer agent fees. But the good news is that with just a little education, you can avoid this new pitfall. And that's what today's video is about. We're going to talk about the changes to the laws here in Oregon and the Willamette Valley MLS and what you should do before you even think about signing a buyer agency agreement. So stay tuned. Many consumers are under the impression that buyer agents are all the same. And the way that many consumers have found their buyer agents hasn't changed for decades. They see a house that they're interested in, they reach out to a few agents if they don't already have a friend or family member who is an agent, and the first one who gets back to them gets the initial look. They walk into the house, and as long as they didn't really dislike them, they would continue to view homes with them. And after viewing a few homes, the consumer would feel obligated to continue to work with them because of the time the agent had already spent with them. And since buyer agency felt free, the buyer didn't have to write a check, the fee didn't show up on their settlement statement, most buyer agents, being nice people, could clear this pretty low bar. Well, those days are coming to a close in about a week. As I said in my intro, on August 16th, the real estate agents who are members of the NAR, which is around 2/3 of real estate agents, will not only be barred from advertising buyer agent commissions on any platform, but they will be required to have buyers sign buyer agency contracts prior to viewing any homes. If there is anything that I want every person watching this to take away from this video, the one thing I want you to do is read and understand any buyer agency agreement before you sign it. Make sure you understand every part of it and what you're agreeing to. How long does this contract stay in effect? How much are you on the hook to pay the buyer agent, and how can you get out of it? Because if you sign a contract before you have any idea whether you're going to work well with this agent or if said agent has any knowledge to help you with your decision, you could find yourself in a 6-month or even 12-month long contract with an agent whom you don't think is earning their fee, a fee you are guaranteeing to pay out of your pocket. This issue has generated concern in several states. The state of Colorado has actually banned the requirement that buyers have to sign buyer agency agreements before touring a home for this very concern. The state legislature was concerned that buyers were going to get locked into long-term contracts that they didn't understand. Some of the early drafts of buyer agency agreements coming out of state associations and their attorneys were so long and full of lawyer speak that consumer watchdogs started to weigh in, saying that these agreements need to be short and they need to be in plain language so that regular people don't need to hire an attorney to understand what they're signing. Now, each state is different as far as their requirements for buyer agency agreements. The state of Oregon legislature did pass a new law requiring buyer agency agreements to be in effect prior to viewing any homes with a real estate agent. This law takes effect in January 1st of 2025. But there are no state mandated contracts. Every agent can have a different one, making reading through it even more important. One issue that I want everyone to understand is that of procuring cause. Procuring cause is a legal term in real estate that refers to the actions of a real estate agent or broker that lead to a sale and therefore entitle them to a commission. When you hire a listing agent and then accept an offer, you can't just fire your listing agent on the spot and save yourself their fee. They can come after you for their fee by making the case that their efforts are what brought the offer to you. They were the procuring cause. But each state is a little different as to what event triggers procuring cause for buyer agency. In Oregon, the Supreme Court weighed in on this issue a few years back and found that procuring cause, when it comes to buyer agency, happens at close and not before. So if an agent tells you, if I show you this house and you buy it, I'm entitled to the commission, even if you start working with someone else, even if I did nothing else for you, well, that is completely false and a pretty good indicator that you should probably keep looking for an agent that understands real estate law a little better. So what should a buyer agency agreement look like? Well, consumer watchdogs have said that a buyer agency agreement should be no longer than 1.5 pages and contain no lawyer speak. It needs to be in plain language. It needs to have an end date. It needs to spell out in detail what the buyer agent commission will be and whether it is an exclusive or non-exclusive agreement, and it needs to have language about how the agreement can be terminated. As far as exclusive versus non-exclusive, of course, it is in the buyer's best interest to have non-exclusive agreements. It gives you the most flexibility. But I would say that good agents, the ones that are going to be real advisors for you, they won't sign a long-term non-exclusive agreement. Doing a good job as a buyer agent takes an enormous amount of time, training, and education. And agents that put in that time and effort, they deserve their fees, just like every other professional. So how do you determine whether a buyer agent is going to do a good job for you? I recently did a video where I talked about this very subject in detail. The 6 questions you should be asking every potential agent. I have a link to it in the bar above and in the comments section. And if you watch this video, I discuss what kind of answers you should be looking for. And if you ask those questions of any agent you're thinking about hiring and get the kind of answers I discuss in my video, you will end up with an agent that will do a good job for you. The questions that every buyer really needs to ask themselves before they sign on the dotted line is, can this agent help me make a good financial decision? Can they help me avoid the pitfalls, of which there are many, when I'm buying a house? And if I have to sell this house far sooner than I'm expecting, are they pointing out what attributes of the house will make it hard to sell if I happen to be selling in a down market? And if you don't know the answers to these questions, you have to find out. And more than that, you have to hire a real estate agent that can answer these questions for you. Not every real estate agent is the same. My wife Melina recently did an open house, and a couple came in with their agent to tour. The couple went through the house by themselves while their agent stood by the door on her phone. She literally did not say anything to her clients until they came back to the front when she asked, "What'd you think?" I recently had a seller who had only owned their house for 13 months. With such a short time passing between buying and selling, many homeowners will go back to the agent they purchased the house with. And I didn't help them buy this house, and I asked the client, "Why did you call me? Why didn't you go back to your previous agent?" And the story was exactly the same as my first one. The agent stood in the kitchen checking emails while they looked around the house. She didn't offer any advice. She just asked if they wanted to write an offer. And these sellers were very, very fortunate that they didn't lose a lot of money on this house. The house had some flow and deferred maintenance issues that they hadn't thought about when they bought the house. Now, I gave them a very long list of things that they needed to do if we were not only going to get top dollar, but if we were going to be able to sell it at all in today's much slower market. Luckily, one set of parents were contractors who did a bunch of work for free, and they had relationships with contractors who, as a favor to them, billed escrow. I mean, these contractors didn't get paid for 6 months. You take away the parents' help, and they wouldn't have been able to fix the things that they should have been pointed out to them before they even purchased the house. Things that had to get fixed before we could attract any buyers. I mean, they could have lost $50,000 or more, but instead they made $60,000. You know, real estate is a great way to build wealth. There is an endless number of articles about how owning a home is your best path to building wealth. But done improperly, real estate is also a great way to lose a tremendous amount of money. Your buyer agent should be an advisor, just like a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or any other professional you hire and pay a lot of money to. They should be experts on the marketplace, the city, the neighborhoods, home hazards, real estate law, and what home characteristics increase the value of a home and which ones decrease it. Opening the front door, writing up a contract, and being a nice person, that just isn't enough to justify any buyer agent making $10,000 or more, regardless of whether they are your best friend or family member. Because if you buy the wrong house, or it has problems that you didn't know about, you could lose thousands. And with the market up so much over the last 5 years, it's hard for many to conceive of losing money in real estate, but it can happen, and it does. Here's our tried and true method for helping you find the right buyer agent. The kind of agent where you can sign the buyer agency agreement and feel good about who you're working with and the money they're going to make. Find a vacant home. It doesn't have to be a house that you're really interested in, but it should be a home that has the characteristics you are interested in. If you want new construction, it should be a new construction home. If you want a historic home or an acreage property, those should be the kind of properties you choose. Schedule 3 showings of the same house with 3 different agents. Sign a 24-hour non-exclusive buyer agency agreement with each if you have to. And see who gives you the best information about the house, about the area, about the neighborhood. And if all 3 agents do, if all the 3 agents do is ask if you like it, go find 3 more agents to interview until you find one that gives you the confidence they're really going to help you make a good decision. Buying a home always has an emotional component to it. It's not like a stock. You live in a house, so it's an emotional decision. But it's in your best interest to make sure that whoever is helping you can give you a more complete picture of the home as an investment. And a house is an investment. But to do that, you need a trusted advisor, a knowledgeable professional. Being nice or even a friend shouldn't be the only criteria. And if you take your time to really learn about potential buyer agents, you're going to end up being far happier with the results. And that, folks, is what you need to know before signing a buyer agency agreement. Again, if you found this video helpful, please comment, give me a thumbs up, or share it. I'll see you next time.